It's an emotional time here on the BS Pod. My daughter Zoe Simmons is here. We're doing the end of the year Teen Culture Awards, which I think we've done every year for the last few years. We might have missed one.
Yeah.
You've been doing this since, I don't know, you were 12, 13, something like that. But this is the last year. You're 19. Next year, you're not a teenager.
Yeah, no awards for next year. Really appreciate this one while you have it.
No, we'll call it the 20-something awards next year.
And I feel like it retires itself at that point.
That's it. You're hanging it up? What's going to happen to you?
Teen Culture Awards.
All right. So
Turn in a new leaf. This is it.
So we call it the Young Woman Awards? What do we call it?
The Young Woman Awards?
I
think not.
Young Adult Awards?
We'll see if it figures itself out next year. For now, this is looking like it.
Thanks for putting no thought into that. All right. So end of the year awards. We have a whole bunch of categories. I'm just going to set you up. Most important category every year is the TV show of the year. What was it this year?
This year, we selected Tell Me Lies as my TV show for the year. Reason being, this is probably the most emotional a show has ever made me.
Why?
Because it kind of depicts perfectly like a super toxic college relationship. I think it struck a chord within a lot of people my age, especially as a college student. And the show actually casted people that look like the age that they're supposed to be playing.
So that's a big thing for you.
For me, that's the most important thing that a TV show can do. The people on the show have to look like the age that they're trying to play. Like that actually makes it a much more emotionally difficult situation.
Like Sex Lives and College Girls. I'm not sure those girls look like college girls.
Yeah, I haven't even watched it yet because I've seen the cast, and it's just like, this doesn't look like people that I'd be running into in my ethics class next week. Like, this is not, these people are like the older people coming back to college trying to figure it out.
So Tell Me Lies. There's a lot of sex in it. Let's be honest. It's not a show I would watch with you.
Yeah,
that's okay.
That's for sure. But with my girlfriends, my best friend from college, my roommate, we would sit there and wait for each episode to come out every week and watch it together with our like headphones individually and our computers and just like completely jaw on the floor every single time.
Oh, wait, because you don't have a TV?
We don't have a TV.
So will you press play at the same time?
We'd like sync it up. But it was, jaw-dropping every single episode. It got so crazy, but the manipulation of the main character, Steven, that he does to his little girlfriend, Lucy, is like, he almost makes you think that you're crazy because of how good of a manipulator he is. But the show is incredible, and that was made true with like all the attention it got on TikTok. And they actually renewed it after they were going to cancel it before it got all the
It did get pretty
attention.
Much canceled, yeah.
So TikTok really saved this show this year.
Can you explain how TikTok saves a show? Because this is, and there's some other parts that we're going to talk about later with this, but TikTok taking a show either in a good way or a bad way.
It's weird because now that social media is such a prominent thing, even a shitty TV show can become super popular, even a shitty song. Like no matter what it is, if people will band behind it, that's what makes a song or show successful. And I've been talking about it a lot with my friends, and it feels like a lot of producers of TV shows and song makers or whatever it is, they're trying to appeal to the social media eye rather than the critics or the other people that actually like establish whether a show or a music video is good enough. It's more about like, if you get the TikTok people behind you, that will make you successful.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's definitely made the content that's being put out there worse.
Yeah.
Because it's catered to all of these people that like have short attention spans or whatever it is. But this show caters exactly to people like me who found it through TikTok. I didn't even know about the show until I saw a little clip of it on TikTok. And then I binged through the whole thing.
It checks a lot of Zoe boxes, including we go back and forth in the future.
Yeah,
and everybody's older and younger.
Yeah, I like a little time sequence.
Yeah.
But the show is phenomenal. It was easily my top #1 show this year. I think as a college student, that really was what hit home for me.
So that's great. So like when I was in college, 90210 hit home with all of us, which was a relatively normal show. You're saying for your generation, a super toxic guy fucking with all these different people on the show. This is really resonated with your generation.
That sort of thing has like never been depicted. And it also uses social media as a tactic of manipulation that the main character uses, which a lot of TV shows don't incorporate social media.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a blacklisted, like you can't do it because that will take the characters out of the show, whatever. But people like me, we're always on our phones. Like, it's not realistic to have a TV show that doesn't incorporate like the use of manipulative text messages or Snapchats or whatever it is. And like this show actually
or
has that.
non-texting,
Right.
or ghosting,
or being ghosted. So it's like this is the most realistic depiction of like a toxic college relationship, which is why I loved it so much.
Do you think you like toxic relationship shows because all of your relationships have been non-toxic and pretty normal?
I think so. It's like, oh, this is what it's like. But I know it hit home for a lot of people.
Okay.
So.
All right. So that's TV show of the year. Favorite content of the year. Do you want me to read the list and you can just go? So some of this has to do with shows you binged.
Yeah.
Because you like binging shows.
Right.
You like either you're doing homework while a show's on.
Yeah,
or
I like
late at
white
night.
noise shows is how I'd put it.
Well, number one is the Gilmore Girls, which you finally stumbled into. What was it about this show?
Well, I stayed away from it because I knew I would love it. I tried to start it a few different times and was kind of bored while watching it. But this year, again, my roommate was like, you need to watch this show. You will love it. So I sat myself down and I watched the first season. The first season wasn't the most interesting because Rory, the main character, was like a fresh high schooler in New Haven, Connecticut. And I was like, what is this? This is not my jam at all. But then as the show continues on, it kind of it feels like a warm hug is how I describe it. I think a lot of Gilmore Girls lovers would describe the show as just like a warm, comforting, like when you're in need of feeling like you're around family or you just need your spirits uplifted, that's where you go.
Mom-daughter show.
Mom-daughter show. Which...
what would be your mom-daughter show? Just
ours would be a lot more realistic.
The
thing about Gilmore Girls is like it's supposed to be a perfect world. And Lorelai had Rory when she was like 16 years old. So there's a really short age gap between them, which makes their relationship more like sister to sister. But the show itself is incredible. It's definitely unrealistic, but it kept me interested for 7 seasons. Each episode
didn't it stay
being
too
like,
long though? The last 2 seasons were not great, right?
Yeah, I mean, some parts could have been cut out, but honestly, the last 2 seasons were my favorites because Rory was in college, going through college, which once again is my favorite form of TV show when the main character is going through college. And she was having boyfriends and all these different things and whatever. So I actually liked the show as it progressed, but I loved Gilmore Girls just as something to fall back on when college days were getting hard.
Well, one other binge watch show is This Is Us.
Yep.
I don't like when you watch shows that are sad because you assume the mood of whatever the show is.
Yeah.
Which thank God you didn't assume the mood of Tell Me Lies. But
right.
But This Is Us, like it's an emotional journey. So you were kind of an emotional person as you watch this.
Yeah, but this is different. I don't think it was a Grey's Anatomy COVID situation where I was just completely put out and like unable to like act every day. This show definitely hits the heartstrings.
Yeah.
But in a good way. I loved this show. It kept me interested and it was so unrealistic to the point where I almost wasn't emotionally affected by it because it's like, when would this ever happen ever?
Right. Okay. Next one, the Unfiltered podcast.
It's
this
basically
is one of your
unfiltered.
Favorites.
Basically unfiltered.
What
it was
is
the merging of 2 different podcasts that I really like on Spotify. The Unfiltered podcast is hosted by Zayn Hijazi and Heath. They were like 2 of David Dobrik's best friends who kind of diverged and made a podcast. And then the other one was Pretty Basic, hosted by Remy Cruz and Alicia Marie. And they like joined forces and made this podcast all together. So that's what it is. But
what do you like about it? You're not telling us anything. We don't know
I
who
was
these
just
people
explaining what it was.
Well, Remy Cruz has a salad that you pointed out to me when we were walking around LA.
It's a tuna bowl, a salmon bowl. But I've loved all of these YouTubers. It's like more of a nostalgic thing for me because I've watched them since I was like 13, ever since I started watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And they joined forces and they have a Patreon page, which I really love. And they'll go and do like, they'll film a high episode or a mukbang episode or them like going to, like on Halloween time, they went to the Halloween like scare fest, whatever. It's just like a really fun, airy, light podcast where it's kind of like girls versus boys and they'll do challenges and stuff. But it's just easy to watch. I like it.
Video pod. We Live in Time is the next one on the list. I don't even know what that one is.
That was the movie that came out.
Oh, the cancer movie?
Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I loved this movie. I saw this like a month or 2 ago. And
Yeah.
needless to say, I think Mom will watch it like 15 times once she finds it. But it was great. I love Andrew Garfield. I love Florence Pugh. I love a British accent. Everything about the movie was phenomenal.
I tried to watch this movie with the two of you and left after like 40 minutes.
Yeah. Which
But
I don't
you-
know why, because it was also a cooking movie, which is like, that's everything that I need. Cancer, cooking, Andrew Garfield, British accent. I'm in.
Wow, that's your algorithm. I skipped that one. Blink Twice, Channing Tatum.
This was great. Did you see this one?
I did.
I really loved this movie because I'm a big psychological thriller person.
Right.
I prefer that much more
You
than
love
I
Get
do a
Out as an
slasher.
all-timer for you.
Right. Like I love Get Out. I love all those types of movies. So this one I thought was phenomenal. And I love when a movie takes me on a vacation.
Right.
This movie was on a great resort. Things kind of started to get weird. We didn't exactly know why. It kind of revealed itself. Channing Tatum's gorgeous. It was a beautiful combo of things. I loved this movie.
Speaking of going on vacation, you did a White Lotus rewatch that you put on favorite content of the year, even though
Yep.
you'd already seen the show.
100 times. And I would watch it again and again. I think this is the single best TV show series ever.
Ever. Okay,
Ever.
the GOAT.
To me, I think it's...
Granted, you've missed a lot of great TV shows. Like
Right.
you didn't watch Sopranos, you didn't watch
Right.
Mad Men, Breaking Bad.
I said to me. I didn't
Yeah.
say to anyone else. This is...
I'm just saying there's some meat
This
on
is
the
my
bone.
number one. And rewatching it back, all of the little details and the things that I missed the first time I watched it, it's like, wow, this show is phenomenal.
The Therapus podcast?
Therapus.
Therapus?
Therapus. This pod is great. I think this is a perfect example of like new upcoming podcasts that are kind of trying to take like the TikTok vibes and bringing it over to a podcast. This is hosted by Jake Shane, but he just brings on all of his celebrity friends like Sophia Richie, who I
Yeah.
love, all sorts of different celebrities. And he does this segment called the Tell Me What's Wrongs. And he'll have his fans send in like a bunch of things that have happened to them, crazy things. And then him and the celebrity will give them advice on how to deal with it. And then they'll prescribe them with different things to like fix that situation. But he's just so funny and light and airy. I love his podcast. I enjoy listening to it. I
So
like happy things.
When you say the TikTok piece of it, so it's a lot of people like trying to self-diagnose, figure
Right.
out what's
Well,
wrong.
yes. And it's like an interactive podcast where his fans are basically like the basis of the podcast. He's answering people's questions and giving
A
them
mailbag.
advice with the celebrity, which I think is super effective. And it's personable. Like when I listen to it, I feel like I'm his friend.
LA, where is he taping that out of?
LA.
Okay. Waited for an invite from Jake from Therapus.
Jake
Therapus or
Shane.
Therapus?
Therapus. Like
Therapus.
octopus.
The Idea of You,
This
another
one was
content of the year choice
great.
for you.
I think Mom watched it about 50 times over.
Yeah, should
Anne
I have
Hath-
been concerned about that? That she
I don't
was
know.
obsessed with a movie about a woman meeting a younger guy?
Anne Hathaway is phenomenal, and she only gets more beautiful. And this movie, it had to happen, and they executed it perfectly. Like, it was about time that a movie like this came out where a celebrity falls in love with a
Younger
hot
guy.
mom whose life has fallen apart.
I liked that. So I happened to watch this one with Mom. And the ending was kind of pushing it.
Yeah, it was pushing it.
Can we spoiler alert the ending?
Yeah,
People
go
have
ahead.
probably seen this. So they agree to break up.
Yep.
Because, you know, she's 15 years older and he's becoming a pop star. And basically they break up because it's screwing up her daughter.
Right.
Her daughter's having an issue with it. So she's like, 5 years from now, my daughter's in college. Give me a call. He's like, all right. And then she's watching some TV show when he's on. He's like, I'm going to LA. It's 5 years later. Of course, she's still single, even though she's gorgeous.
Right.
No guys
Makes
can be
no
seen for her.
sense.
Just hanging out on a Thursday night. Sees it. And then all of a sudden he shows up at the end and they have kind of a look.
Yep.
And it's a happy ending.
Happy ending.
And then he gets to go through menopause and all the great old lady stages with her. Happy for both of them.
Interesting the daughter piece
Yeah.
in that movie, like a selfish mom making a decision to get involved with a celebrity and then ruining her daughter's life, which actually happens a lot
Yeah.
in real life. So I liked it.
Your last one for favorite content of the year. I see long legs is on there. I didn't realize
We're really
you like
doing
long
this again.
legs.
Oh my God.
You like long legs, Zoe?
I like long legs.
You guys love this. We saw this together
Yeah.
in the theater. I was not as big of a fan, but you and Ben
Yeah, I
were
don't know
into
why.
it.
I saw it like 4 times.
Did you really?
I did. I saw it 4 times.
Well, you're a bad judge with movies because you have a movie theater like
right around the
50
corner
yards
from
from
me.
where you go to college.
Yeah.
So you can just go at 10 o'clock.
But I thought this movie was really good. Out of all the horror movies that came out this year, this was my number one. Again, because I really don't like gore. I haven't even seen Smile 2 yet. I know you guys have seen it and I should see it.
Smile 2 was good.
But there's something unappealing about it to me.
You know why Smile 2 was good? Because the lead actress is great.
Right.
But
But it's like, that's just not my... Longlegs was much more my type of movie. I also like being on the side of the detectives.
yeah.
I like kind of trying to figure it out with them. And I thought the girl that played the main character was phenomenal.
And you liked Heretic too.
Heretic. Yeah.
Heretic?
I
haven't
love
seen
Hugh
that one.
Grant. I think he's great. And seeing him in this sort of light was really interesting. It added a lot of depth to him as an
So
actor.
you like detectives chasing something creepy.
Right.
Something's wrong with the house. Has been a
And the
staple.
whole vibe of that movie was good too. Just the way it was filmed, like the lighting, every attention to detail was hit the checkbox for me.
All right, so we're continuing the Teen Culture Awards. Last year we were doing this. My daughter turns 20 next year. New category, show you'd most want to go on. What's the answer?
This was the Mystic Kitchen's last meal show, which I've binged every single episode, even of the celebrities that I don't care for, and I find it the most interesting thing that I've ever watched in my life.
Because you think about how weird your last meal would be, where it's like
Right.
cottage cheese, pickles, hummus.
That, but it's like, it's such an intimate thing to find out about a celebrity. Like, this is the last thing that you would eat. Like, I was watching, I'm trying to think of a good episode that I really loved. But I mean, every celebrity that goes on there, it's just like, what are you putting on your plate right now?
So you feel like compared to Hot Ones, where it's just people like their
I
mouth
prefer
burning
this.
from chicken
Right.
wings. You want to know, you feel like this is a window into their actual personality.
Right.
what
It's
the
like,
food they're
this
gonna
is
pick.
the last thing that you would put into your body on the planet. And I think the host, Josh, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's great too. He's really intelligent.
So what's your last meal then?
I wish I would have had more time to think about this one.
What
I
are
think
the-
a huge Caesar salad with some sort of chicken on it would absolutely be up there.
But you'd have to have pickles.
Right? Pickles, cottage cheese, all the works, hummus, carrots. But that's like, am I really going to eat that on my last meal? I think I'd need a huge cheese board and a Caesar salad with chicken on it, and a Diet Dr. Pepper and a milkshake.
All right, the last meal. I'll check that one out. Breakout stars for this year for you.
Yep.
You had 3 people. Trinity Rodman.
I love her. I watched her on the Call Her Daddy podcast last week. Not only was that episode super moving, I just think she's so smart and so cool and so normal considering her entire situation.
Yeah.
Like, as for a celebrity, this is the one person where I'm like, wow, I could actually see myself being friends with her. Like, she's so normal and cool and stylish, and I really love her. I idolize her, honestly.
And we really need her for the U.S.
Right.
Women's World
And
Cup.
she's a phenomenal soccer player
Yeah.
on top of it, which
She's
is
the
just
best forward we've produced
she's-
probably since Abby Wambach.
She's great. I truly love her.
So
think
what did you
she's-
like about that episode? Just the way she talked about her dad, or just like her perspective on fame? Like, what was it?
Yeah, I think that was a really tough topic for her to talk about, and she'd obviously never talked about it for a reason.
The dad.
Yeah. And even while having that really tough conversation, she still remained so classy, and like, even though she was airing everything out, she was never speaking poorly on him because
Yeah.
she knew there was no point in doing that. So I just like appreciated the way that she approached that situation, the way she held herself. Like, I just think she's going to be, obviously she's already really successful, but she's going to continue to be super successful.
I like her too. Next one is Sophia Richie.
I love her. This is Lionel
so she's
Richie's
just a
daughter.
guest? What does she do? Like, does she have content?
She has a TikTok. Her wedding was like the royal wedding last year. It was like, there was so much stigma around it, and she looked beautiful and she's phenomenal, but she's an influencer type. I don't know how to like categorize her. I don't want to because I don't specifically know.
Well, what do you
what
like
she
about her? Is
does-
she funny? Like, what is
She's
she?
hilarious.
Okay.
She's like the most normal celebrity that, similar to Trinity Rodman, that I've like ever witnessed. She's just so normal and down to earth, but I also really like her style and the way that she dresses and carries herself. Like, I like to emulate the outfits that she does. She's like the epitome of an influencer to me, like how all the influencers should be.
normal
But she actually
people are coming back.
Right. Normal people are, and she's funny.
Crazy, not as successful in 2024.
Right.
Graydon Cutler and Haley Batchelder? Who are they?
Haley just joined the Call Her Daddy force, or the Unwell content, but she has a new podcast on Spotify, which I really love, called Extra Dirty. But it's the reason
Extra Dirty? What does that mean?
Because it's like a sex podcast. It's kind of like how Alex Cooper used to be before she got married. Love. Right. But I really like her. I think she's super funny. She started off in like short form videos on TikTok talking about like all of her quests out in New York City, the guys that she would meet, the things that she'd do, whatever. She's like I don't relate to her all that much, but I really like watching her content a lot. And Graydon's her best friend who's always making weird food combinations, which you know I love.
Okay. Storyline of the year, you went with the TikTok ban.
I just thought this is so interesting. Because what's going to happen to all of these influencers? I really don't know.
You mean if TikTok goes away in like April?
Right. It's like all of these people that have given up their jobs and have been making their livelihood by making TikTok videos. Now what happens to them? Like, I genuinely don't know.
Instagram Reels?
I guess so, but like I'm never even on Instagram Reels like that.
Yeah.
I like Instagram Reels, but like TikTok it's such a well-oiled machine. Like it really reels you in. And now that there's this whole TikTok shop thing, which is Amazon equivalent.
Yeah.
I can see how it's so detrimental to little kids because all of these videos will be promoting things that you can buy on TikTok shop where you'll literally watch the video and you can click on the thing at the bottom and you're purchasing something all of a sudden. So it's definitely an evil thing.
Yeah.
But I'm most curious to see what will happen to all of these influencers and people that have devoted their lives to making TikTok videos that are no longer going to have any job.
I'm good with TikTok going away. Favorite developments? You mentioned Patreon earlier, so you're talking about like special Patreon only.
I love
this
Patreon.
Special content.
This really feeds into like the secrecy, feeling like you're friends with your favorite influencer.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to pay $10 a month or whatever to have the Patreons of the people that I'm subscribed to. But it's so interesting because it's almost like a whirlpool into what old YouTube looked like before all of the monetizations and whatever were put in place. It's like you can really just lay it all out with no care at all.
Okay. So you're saying I should start a Patreon? I don't want to.
I don't know if I want to see whatever
content.
you do on Patreon.
Thank you. Spotify video is another one.
Yeah.
You were talking about, you like when Spotify, which is good because we're tripling down on this, but you like either watching or listening to a podcast depending on where you are.
Yeah, I think it's a great advancement and it's really helpful to see the person that's talking's face.
Yeah.
Like that's just something that I connect their words so much better with whoever they are by watching the video, and I'll just put it up on the treadmill if I'm working out or if I'm in the car. I won't watch the video, but like I like that you have the option. I think that's a really good advancement.
All right. Well, you're going to keep getting it. Most fascinating trend. So 2 things here. You have the last days of original influencer content. What does that mean?
I think we were talking about the canceled podcast when we...
Well, so the canceled podcast dying out is the other piece of that.
Right.
So you're talking about there's the end of some sort of era that people don't even know like was an era.
The people know. It's like the YouTube Vine era of like all of the way that old social media used to be, the way that influencers used to behave. It was like so much more raw and like upfront, and people were openly crazy.
Yeah.
And Tana Mojo is like the face of that when I think of old YouTube, because she is just like the epitome of, she's been everywhere and done everything. Similar with Trisha Paytas.
So people beefing, getting canceled, coming back,
right?
declaring
it's
war
like
on
the
each other.
cockroach syndrome, where it's like you can just be openly crazy and there was really no problem with it, and you'd get canceled and you'd come back and it would just be a continuous loophole. Where now cancel culture is like you're canceled for whatever it might be and you're done.
Yeah.
But the canceled podcast, similar to its name, it really was like the last era of that. It felt like, because Brooke Schofield and Tana Mojo would like air out all of this shit that happened, all these crazy stories of living in LA, going out in Hollywood, whatever it was. And now Tana's in a happy relationship, so is Brooke, and they just kind of are diverging into like this regular influencer, whatever the new Spotify world.
So do you have to
influencer
basically
is.
not be in a healthy relationship to be a good podcaster?
Apparently so. Or just to be an interesting influencer.
Because I asked you what would happen if Alex Cooper just got divorced and you got super excited. You're like, whoa, if she started dating again, that would be amazing.
Well, that was her whole bag. All of
Yeah.
her podcasts and stories were about like having random hookups and running around New York City and like being a degenerate and whatever. And now she's happy and super successful, and I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
But her content definitely reflects that.
Right. She's doing more interview stuff.
And I love like her story about hooking up with the Red Sox guy.
You're right.
And like her story about her times in Paris. Like all of when she does the old stories about everything that used to happen to her, I was like, wow, this is good content. Like this, I miss this.
Next category is couple I want to break up because I'm jealous. Couple I hope they break up, I guess. You're not literally hoping for a breakup, but
no.
But
I'm
anyway.
just jealous. I wish I could be Olivia Jade. She's dating Jacob Elordi, but she never talks about it, which is really interesting to me. You're dating one of the hottest guys on earth, and he's
tall, which you love,
right? And Australian, and he's not in any of her content. She's still alive, and like I love her YouTube videos. I'm a big fan of Olivia Jade.
Interesting, big comeback for Olivia.
Yeah, she's also a good influencer where she just keeps it classy. She's not too crazy. I really like her content a lot.
And a hell of a rower.
Right. Okay. But I do like her a lot and I'm jealous of her.
Grossest internet moment of the year. We had you had the Sydney Sweeney body shaming stuff from a couple weeks ago.
I don't want to say like grossest, like I was grossed out, like grossest, like wow, society is really
that's
horrific.
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. This was awful. Because I saw TikTok videos alluding to it, but not the pictures, just being like, wow, what happened to Sydney Sweeney? Like all this stuff. And I was expecting to see something horrible. And she just looks completely normal.
And she's filming a movie about a female boxer.
Yeah,
where
and
she
she's
has to
like
put
actually
muscle on.
putting some muscle on. Like she looks similar to how like most females look. And I was just like, this is ridiculous that in this day and age with all of this cancellation stuff, people will still talk like that. I found that super
What did you think of her
disheartening.
post refuting all the, or did you see the post she did?
I've always been a big fan of her. I think she's wonderful in White Lotus and I love Euphoria. And her straying away from the character that she usually plays is an interesting thing to me. I'm excited to see the movie. I thought that her response definitely made me like her a lot more.
Yeah. Well, two people you didn't really like. Feud of the year. Although I guess you're on the Blake Lively side. Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. So this was a big thing.
This situation is gnarly.
This has been like a 9-month story on the social media, and now it blew up again.
Well, there's been lots of back and forth because originally when the movie was being promoted, Blake Lively was kind of promoting the show up in your florals to the movie, and Justin Baldoni was taking more of the like domestic violence awareness side. And people
they also weren't promoting it together.
Right. And people were really criticizing Blake for being insensitive of the entire intention behind the movie, but turns out that there was some reasoning behind it. I think the situation is horrible, and looking at the intimate details of it, it's really, really weird.
So I know all like the mainstream journalism media angles reporting on it. What is the TikTok, Instagram version of
it? People have been saying that he was being very strange during all of their sexual scenes.
Yeah.
And even the girl that played the younger version of Blake Lively, he was making really crude comments about her sex scenes with the younger character that was supposed to play Atlas.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he like walked in on her in her trailer.
This is all alleged, we should mention.
Multiple times. Yeah, alleged. But like a lot of really disgusting sentiments came out of this, just like really uncomfortable, seemingly like minor versions of sexual abuse, but it's really
the fact that she had that meeting and put all that stuff in there, like from now on, you will no longer add kissing scenes.
And people were really trying to turn it on Blake Lively at the beginning, like Blake Lively's an asshole and she's like mean to reporters, and everyone was turning on her, but it seems like there was a lot more to the situation. It's really sad.
What's your generation's relationship with Blake Lively?
For a second there, people weren't liking her, but I think she's widely loved because of Gossip Girl and all of the movies that she's done. I mean, I like her. She's
That
a friend
movie
of
did
Taylor
really well. I
Swift's.
think she's in good shape.
Yeah, but I don't know. She's not within my area.
All right, we're gonna be delicate with this next one.
Uh-oh.
By the way, Mom's take on Justin Baldoni was, I never liked his face.
Yeah, I don't like his either.
That was it. Just
he
never trusted his face.
He played the role that he played a little too well.
Yeah. 2025 career advice is the next category.
Right.
And I just have in the notes, dangerous Disney.
Yeah.
You don't like when the Disney stars hit this phase when they get older and then they have to prove how dangerous they are.
Well, it just seems like this is like a common thing that happens between Sabrina Carpenter and Olivia Rodrigo and like all of these really popular Disney influencers that are now trying to like desensitize themselves and like escape from the like Disney world.
Yeah. By being super provocative.
Right. And like in a lot of ways it works and I support it. But then there's times where it's just like, this feels like it's kind of over the top. Like you're trying to prove something here. And sometimes it's like feeding into that Disney thing is not always a bad thing. I just think that sometimes it's a little too trying to get out of the box.
Do you feel like Zendaya did that?
No, I think she played her cards perfectly.
Yeah, I think she's the role model, right?
Because she's super sexy. Like, I think she's beautiful, but she was a Disney star for a long time. And she kind of like shifted over to being who she is now from who she was then.
Well, it helps
really
that she's
seamlessly.
an awesome actress and got an
and in a lot of
TV
movies
show.
and stuff. Right. But that's the way to do it. Like, that's the poster way to do that.
I don't know what the answer is, but I have written down makeup tip of the year. As your
I don't
big
even know if we
person.
came up with this one.
You don't have one? All right, we'll move on to the next one. College food and drink, weird budget MVPs.
All right.
This is stuff when you're in college, you're racing around, especially like you're playing sports. You have only like 30 minutes to eat, 20 minutes to eat, 10 minutes to grab something. I have a bunch of food here. So what do you want to start?
I want to start off by saying Starbucks saved my life.
Okay.
The dining hall usually closed before soccer practice would be over, and there were countless times where the Starbucks next door to me would provide my meals. I think I ate strictly Starbucks for probably 2 months straight.
So you support the Starbucks.
I support Starbucks.
So you have, I wrote down Starbucks egg bites.
Yes, absolutely.
Spinach feta wrap.
Yes. Yes.
And matcha latte was a big one for you this year?
I love a matcha latte. I'm obviously a college student and I need as much energy as I can get.
Yeah.
And coffee, sometimes I'm just not in the mood for it. And matcha actually like gives me the caffeine boost that I need without the come down. Because sometimes from coffee, I'll like get tired a few hours after having it.
Yeah.
Matcha like makes my entire body feel fantastic. And it's a good, healthy energy boost because it's green tea.
In that Starbucks that's next to your dorm, there's probably 10, 11 people that work there. How many of them knew who you were?
Oh, we're friends. I have a friend every morning that I say hello to.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Chopsticks?
Oh, yes. Chopsticks. I'll put hummus on them.
Can you explain what chopsticks are? Because most people don't know.
It's a meat stick. I guarantee you most people know.
Okay.
It's like a long meat stick.
It's like a jerky.
Yeah, it's a jerky, but it's made out of turkey. And it's delicious. Me and Mom were on the ski mountain the other day, and she was appalled because I was putting mustard on my chopsticks. But chopsticks, I don't regret it one bit. Chopsticks are my MVP in 2024.
So that's the answer to the question. Weirdest thing I did with my food in 2024, putting mustard in a public place
or
on
like
chopsticks.
The pickles dipped in the cottage cheese with the hummus. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the last MVP was hummus, pickles, and cottage cheese.
Yep.
So you would just walk to this Trader Joe's in Boston, buy a bunch of weird food, and then cram them into a small college refrigerator.
Into my little fridge. And no one would touch that fridge in my suite. They all knew. They open it up and it's like, this is a crime scene.
Yeah, there's like, is there any pizza in there?
Yeah, that's why I'm like good as a roommate because no one wants to eat my stuff.
Yeah.
Like even if anyone was trying to eat my things, no one would want
to. Last category. Advice to my younger self as an athlete and future strong woman.
Oh, future strong woman.
I don't know. I'm just projecting.
You're projecting?
Things you learned now that you're 19 and a half, things you wish you could have told yourself at age 12, 13, 14.
Sure. Well, I think on a relationships standpoint, because that was partially what I was thinking of when we wrote this down. And this is advice that I give to my friends a lot of the times. in a relationship, you have just as much power as the other person, and succumbing to like whatever they want at all times is super unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's definitely something that I've learned over the years, just like not folding over. I've definitely become a lot more feisty since I've gotten to college. I think in middle school, as you know, a lot of people would like walk all over me because I am a nice person.
Yeah.
And I would like allow that to happen. But standing up for yourself is something obviously that you learn with
It's been
age.
nice to have you home when we taught you how to be bullied again. But me and mom just telling you what to do and
Yeah.
yelling at you.
Exactly.
It's good. Complaining about you.
Right. As a soccer forefront or just sports in general, I think you cannot continue on if you don't love it. That's something that I have learned to be true. I've gone through injury last year where I thought I might have to quit. There's been lots of times in my life where it's like I don't want to miss any more birthday parties or any more friend play dates. I feel like I'm losing friends. Like I don't want to do this sport anymore. And pushing through that and knowing that you have the love to push through the sacrifices is the most important thing. You won't make it if you don't.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting because I think that's the number one thing I learned as a parent too.
Yeah.
That if the kid doesn't love it, there's nothing you can do as
You
a
can't
parent.
make someone love something.
Yeah.
You'll burn them out. Like I've
you
seen
had
it.
you had 2 real injuries, and each time you could have said, I don't want to play anymore. It's not worth it. But each time you really wanted to keep playing and you fought to get back and healthy, which you did again.
Yeah.
Recently. But I've other people
Well, I've seen it happen time and time again where it's like people I've played with that are dying for it to be over.
Yeah.
Because it's like they either feel like they were forced to do it or like they were doing it for somebody else. And in part, I'll always play for you because I know how much you love to watch me play. But I mostly play because of how much I love it. And if I didn't love it, I would not be able to do it for as long as I have.
Yeah, and you're playing, I mean, you're in a more physical position too. So it's not like your body's pretty banged up by the end of the season if you're playing big minutes.
Right. But I think that also feeds into like the giving yourself the right nutrients and like being a healthy person in general.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like, I don't know, on TikTok especially, it's like what I eat in a day as a fat person is literally like all over my For You page. Like there's a lot of people promoting really unhealthy eating or like what I eat in a day as a skinny person. Like these are literal headlines of videos that I've watched. Like this lady Liv Schmidt who was canceled all year because she was underweight and like kind of promoting an unhealthy eating style. It seems like she's like adapted a more healthy eating style. But with social media and with TikTok, there's a lot of promotion of the way that people eat. And it's not anything like we've ever had before because social media was never so big. So
well, it's also making people think about food more than maybe they would.
Right. It's like it becomes people's entire universes. And I've definitely dealt with that. And as an athlete, it's important to give yourself the right nutrients. I think that's important too. That's what I've learned.
The more time we have with social media, I do wonder if it reemphasizes things that are potential problems anyway.
Right.
Like food, or if you think you have some sort of hang up or something wrong, and then
it's like people self-diagnose themselves all the time.
Yeah.
People change and it's hard because when you feel like you're in a really tough place and you don't know what's wrong with you, and then you see somebody else that might be having similar symptoms to you, and you finally feel like you're being heard or like you found the solution, that's a really gratifying feeling. But in the end of the day, it's probably not what you have.
Right.
And it's like people go down this rabbit hole, and social media was not something that we were intended to have as human beings. And it's like you have all of this insight on people's lives that you would never cross paths with otherwise. So it like creates a really weird universe for a lot of people like me where it's like I'll be seeing all these food videos or all of these like whatever sorts of videos that I normally wouldn't ever see or pay attention to. So it's just weird.
Well, one other thing you learned in 2024 is you could be a good nurse.
A good nurse? Yeah, I could, honestly.
Your boyfriend hurt his leg and was in a cast for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And you had to take care of him.
Yeah.
But you did. You did a good job. It seems like you did a decent job.
I tried my best. But that's something I had to learn. Rolling someone around in a wheelchair is not as easy as it looks.
You finally got to be in a Grey's Anatomy episode.
I know. I almost pushed him into traffic a few times.
All right. Anything else before we go?
I don't think so.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good to see you. That was it for teen culture. I guess we'll have to come up with another name if we do this again.
Yeah, we'll fix it up.
You turned 20 in
5 months.
beginning of May.
Yep.
I don't know what we'll call it at that point.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right. Good to see you.
Bye.